How do people who were once really in love just end up getting sick of each other? Like, I have now heard of so many marriages which start off really well, but then as years pass by, partners cannot stand each other anymore. Like, when they start out, they're thinking that as we grow older, maybe we'll get closer, the love will increase. But sadly, the opposite is happening. The marriages are just falling apart. The distance is growing. And they're not just strangers, they almost become enemies. So how is this happening? Of course, there can be so many reasons out there. But today I'm going to give you 3 major reasons why something like this happens. And I'm making this video so that if you see these signs in your marriage, you need to take action real fast. Do something about it, or you're going to end up like strangers or enemies down the road. See, I'm a therapist. If I'm not gonna scare you, who will? One major cause is repeated unresolved fights. If a couple sits down and writes down what do they fight about and they make a list, they'll actually realize that most of the times they're just fighting about 3 or 4 things over and over and over again. And those fights are just not getting resolved because yes, there are some issues which go so deep, which are so complex, and there is so much difference in partners that they just never get resolved. So they're playing out those same fights over and over. And then what happens is, because the fights are not getting resolved, each fight is adding some negativity in the environment and in your memory. So the resentment is also building up. And that's where you often see the cycle of they try to be nice to each other, they suppress their emotions, but then they end up bursting out someday and then the cycle repeats. So it's like the relationship is constantly getting punctured by these fights. And before you can recover, you get punctured again. And if this puncturing becomes very chronic, it ends up in a stage where both of them are just getting sick of each other. Because now when you look at the other person's face, all you see is how many times they've done something wrong towards you, how many times they've not listened to you, how many times they said mean things to you. And in each interaction, the resentment is coming out, sometimes through critical words, sometimes through sarcasm, sometimes intentionally doing things that you know will annoy them. So a light revenge mode is also going in the background. So it's like there's attack, defend, then revenge, then defend again, then attack again, revenge. And what can you expect out of a relationship like this? Of course, it's going to deteriorate. And to solve this, you have to basically learn conflict resolution skills. Ideally, both of you, but even if one person learns, at least the deterioration can be slowed down or maybe even reversed. Second big cause is active interference or domination by one or both partners. Yes, we get married to have a life partner. Yes, we want a soulmate, but essentially everybody cherishes their freedom as well. We do want to feel free. It's not like our individual identity is gone. It's not like our individual desires will just vanish after getting married and it's going to be all about the relationship. No, it doesn't work like that. You are a human first, a partner second. So what that means is, for any good relationship, what's necessary is both partners need to respect each other's freedom and space. But some people sadly don't realize this. They're like, what space, what freedom? Oh, we are married. This is a common house. Everything you do affects me and everything that's in this house is also mine. And every decision that you make, I must be part of that. We are married, so we are constantly answerable to each other for everything. Some people do actually believe like that, or at least they act like that. And there are people who are hypocrites out there as well, who will take their own freedom but will not give the other person their freedom. In such cases, what happens is one person is just constantly interfering in other person's life. Oh, what are you cooking? What are you buying? What are you throwing away? Where did you order this from? What are you using to clean the floor? Etc. Or it can become even worse, where they actively dominate the other person, where I will make the final decision. They will push their will in small or big decisions. So what's happening to the other person at the receiving end? For them, what happens is they just cannot live their day-to-day life freely, peacefully, because the other person can just come in any time. And then instead of just you doing your own thing, now you have to argue. You could have managed the whole room in your own way and enjoyed that time listening to music, but no, now you're managing the room, but you're also arguing with the other person. And so an activity which you could have earlier enjoyed now becomes a hassle because of the interference of other person. And with domination, this becomes even worse, because the person at the receiving end now feels that what is my status in this home? They feel powerless. They feel that I don't have control over my own life. Like, what can I do here? Like, am I living in a prison or something? Or am I an employee here or something? Even employees sometimes get more freedom if the boss is good. So the person who's constantly facing this interference and domination, even if it's the nicest human, they can only take it so much. With time, it will become too much for them. And either they'll start becoming more and more depressed, anxious, which is like internalizing the issue, or they can start becoming rebellious or aggressive, which is externalizing the issue. And sometimes both happen simultaneously. Or if the other person is also strong-headed, then they don't really wait for such accumulation, they fight right back. Because they will not be dominated. They keep pushing the other person back, but the other person is not listening. They are also super strong-headed and they keep butting heads, and this can go on for years and years and years. And again, where do you think this relationship will go? Of course, breakdown and deterioration. These partners will get sick of each other. And that's where you hear partners saying, I wish I could just leave this house and go live in the hills. And the final point here is, in this relationship, there is not enough positivity to balance all that negativity. Usually relationships that do well, they have a good balance of positive and negative. So each relationship can basically tolerate some amount of negative events, some amount of conflicts if the friendship, intimacy, connection is great between partners. If they really love each other, yes, they can be okay with some annoyances also. But when the positivity is missing, then it's just a faster decline into hell. Basically, there is no repair, no rejuvenation, no break from all that negativity. So you can think of it like this. So if this is the neutral line, if the relationship is okay, it's a lot of positive, then sometimes negative, then positive, then negative, it can survive. But if the relationship becomes like, okay, negative, then come back to neutral for some time, then negative, then come back to neutral, then negative, of course, you're going to end up getting sick of each other. So this is why if you really want a long, successful marriage, it is super important to develop deep friendship connection with your partner early on. You should be able to have fun together. You should be able to talk to each other. There must be some physical touch intimacy. Basically, there must be moments where you feel really loved and you can love and you can feel a real human connection. So basically, if you see those three signs, first, repeated unresolved fights. Second, interference and domination from one or both partners, and lack of positivity to balance all the negativity. If you see them, take some action right away. Learn new things, watch my videos, read a book, or come to therapy, do something. And if you like this video, please like, tell me in the comments your thoughts about what I just said, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thanks for listening. Shridhar Life School now specializes in relationship counseling. We start with an in-depth checkup or assessment of your relationship, your strong and weak areas. Now, based on that, our therapists will help you using world-class techniques and interventions, which have been developed after decades of research in marital therapy. It's always better if both partners come for counseling, but if for some reason your partner is unable to join, you can definitely start on your own. To book sessions, visit our website shridharlifeschool.com.